Okay, sorry for the lighting, but I am back again. Haven't made a YouTube video in a while. Okay, so I am 21 weeks and 6 days today pregnant. I had my cerclage yesterday. My cervix was shortened. For those that don't know, shortening and your cervix actually, when you're starting to dilate early, is two different things. When your cervix shortens, the piece right above the vagina is like a little tube, and then it's your vagina opening, your uterus, actual uterus. It shortens. So the shorter it gets, the wider it gets. So it could cause you to dilate. So I went in and he put a stitch in. The procedure, yeah. That was my first spinal tap. So when they went in, they asked me the history. If I had any problems with spinal taps, which I really didn't. My mom had a history of it, where it went up on her and she couldn't breathe. So when I got back there, they did my spinal tap. They had a hard time finding because I have degenerative disc disease, which I have no fluid in between my discs. It's basically disc on disc. So it took her a little longer than 2 minutes, 3 minutes to find the space. And the first 2 times it kind of stung with her trying to find it because I have compacted disc. So after that, she got it in. She got the medicine in. I mean, my legs went numb like almost immediately. So they got me on the bed. And when he put me up, when they started to lift me up, when the doctor came in, they raise you up to his level. And then some doctors will have it tilted. So you'll be almost not quite vertical, but you'll be vertical. So I got nauseous. And they had to give me some nausea medicine because I'm so far along that when they tilted me up, it actually everything came down. So it pushed on my stomach and everything. So I got nauseous. And they gave me some medicine and it helped. So after that, now mind you, if you have to have a cervical cerclage, I would make sure you ask them to pre-treat you for nausea. So after that, I went to recovery. Mind you, I've been here since 8 o'clock in the morning. It is now probably, I think it was like 1:30 when I got in there, 1:40. And I hadn't ate. I was hungry. So I talked about food the whole time. So when we got back to recovery, they put me in there and I couldn't move my legs. They kept asking me, and I was like, I can't move it. Finally, my right started moving. I could wiggle it. I couldn't wiggle my toes. I just could move my foot. But my left leg would not come to. So the lady in recovery, she told me try not to worry about it, but they called anesthesia. I had to stay down in recovery for an extra hour. And, they kept a check on how far down I could feel. And I finally got to go up out of recovery to second floor recovery, which is the actual room, my own personal room. And when I got in there, I couldn't pee. So they were not letting me go home. So when I got in there, I couldn't pee. It had been like about 3 hours. And we were still there. It's now like 6 o'clock. And we was waiting. I did water over my vagina while sitting on the toilet. They ran water, let me listen to it. Wasn't working. Nothing was working. So I was feeling good enough to stand up because my legs had started coming too. So I stood up in the shower and we ran warm water all over me. You know, just trying to get anything to work. I still couldn't feel down there. Feeling in my legs had started to come back to where it was well enough for me to stand up, but I still could not feel no sensation in my vagina or my butt. It basically felt like I was carrying around a ton of rocks in my panties. So, I had a little spotting, and the doctor told her to do a catheter on me so they could remain the fluid because they did a test and my bladder was completely full. So after that, they relieved the bladder. She didn't take all of it out, but she got 600 millimeters, cc's, liter, pipe, whatever. She got half of a bag of fluid out, over half of a bag of fluid. So after that, they admitted me to labor and delivery, where I stayed up there about another hour. I walked before I got there, and I had Sprite, water, lemonade, sips of Coke, everything. And I was still on another bag of fluid. So after I came to third floor, we was there about 30, 40 minutes. I finally felt like I needed to pee. So I peed. They checked the baby. Baby was fine. And I was getting ready. I got to go home. So if you have to have a cerclage, I would recommend that you make sure you ask them to pre-treat you for nausea. And and my legs, if I ever had to have a cerclage again, which I do not plan on having any more kids because this was rough. This one is really rough. I've been in the hospital a lot. You should ask them to put you to sleep because the procedure takes like literally 15 minutes. If that, just prep and everything, 15 minutes. But the numbing anesthesia part takes longer. I would recommend that you do that. Ask them to put you to sleep, pre-treat you for nausea, all that. And especially, if you have problems with spinal taps. And be prepared to stay if you get a spinal tap for a little longer because your bladder has to realize that it has to go. So it took a long time for that. So I actually did not get to leave and come home till about 9 o'clock that night. 9 o'clock, 10:30. So I had been there pretty much all day. That's it. But other than that, I had a little spotting, cramping a little bit, but he gave me some Motrin to bring home. And he said everything looked good, so I'm praying I can make it to at least 36 weeks. All right, y'all.